Okay, so continuing from the last discussion, the first principal component is the eigenvector that has the largest eigenvalue, and the second principal component is the eigenvector with the second largest eigenvalue, and so on. Lambda I actually represents the variance of each principal component, and the idea behind PCA is to reduce the dimensionality. So we consider only the first L eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So let W denote a D cross L matrix with first L eigenvectors. In each of the columns, we represent one eigenvector sorted by corresponding its eigenvalues. So the PC score matrix Z is equal to XW gives you the corresponding reduced dimension value of X. So each input vector D cross 1 is replaced by a shorter L cross 1 vector. So the PCA algorithm, first thing what you do is mean center X. Now your data will be made under a unit circle X equal to X minus mu. Then what you do is calculate the sample covariance matrix S 1 by n minus 1 X transpose X. Now your data will be, so calculate the sample covariance matrix, then you can compute eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So eigenvalues and eigenvectors are calculated. The point is that you may not get a good reduction if you choose only the first direction. It might only capture a very small amount of covariance. So in order to capture the enough amount of covariance, you should select enough number of eigenvectors. So how do you use PCA for dimensionality reduction is very easy. First we consider, we do the eigenvalue decomposition of the covariance matrix. Then we use only first L columns. So instead of first one direction, we select on first L columns of your W. We create a new W matrix in which each column is one eigenvector, and then we multiply X with W. W is your D cross L matrix and X is N cross D matrix. So we get an N cross L matrix. Each input vector is actually represented by a L cross 1, a shorter L cross 1 vector. And that's why it works better. So the reconstruction method is, W consists of first L eigenvectors, and for each row in Z we get corresponding lower dimensional embedding of Xi. You can also reconstruct your work. Let's say I give you W and Z, then if you multiply W by Zi, then you will get X again. It may not be exactly the original X, but we have of course lost some information. We have used only first L eigenvectors, so which means that you have lost some amount of information. So we might not be exactly, you might not be getting exactly same as that of original X, but you are getting some sort of a reduced or some sort of a value which has lost some information. But if you compute the reconstruction error, which is or average reconstruction error as J 1 by n sigma I equal to 1 to n xi minus the calculated x or the new x. This is your original x xi, and xi cap is w zi square. Then you can find the average reconstruction error, which forms a measure of your reconstruction. That is your original x's and what you are getting after by multiplying it with w and z. The error we call is the average reconstruction error. There is a term called a classical PCA theorem which says that PCA is going to give you the best or least reconstruction error among all the possible embedding methods. Because think about it, as you can compute W in many ways. So here we have computed or we have created W as first L eigen vectors. We have done eigenvalue vector decomposition. Then you have constructed W in such a way that which contains first L orthogonal, first L eigenvectors. Instead of that, you choose some sort of L orthogonal vectors, some just L orthogonal vectors, and you try to reconstruct your x from this W. Then it turns out that anyway, you can be sure that with this classical PCA theorem, PCA is going to give you the least reconstruction error, and that's why PCA is very popular in the analysis. So if you have a data set of very large set of columns or parameters, then you can, or if the data is represented in very high dimension, then you can apply PCA on that data and reduce its dimensionality so that other algorithms can be performed very well or in a better fashion compared to if you are working with the large dimension data set. So an optimal embedding in L dimensional space is given as Zi equal to W transpose Xi. Let's look at our Python notebook for some example. So this is your simple Python implementation of PCA. Here I'm using PCA from sklearn library. From sklearn.decomposition, PCA is imported. You can always do eigenvalue decomposition, or you can always do PCA your own. Like first you find out the covariance matrix. Then first of all you need to mean center your data. Then go for the covariance matrix. Then do eigenvalue decomposition, eigen decomposition of the covariance matrix, and choose first L eigen vectors, top L eigen vectors. Here in sklearn library, PCA is done in a similar way, maybe in a different way, by implementing SVD. We'll talk about SVD in the next class. So here instead of directly implementing PCA, I am using sklearn's PCA, which implements SVD actually. So this is my small data set with mu and sigma and random multivariate normal distribution. You plot that data That data looks like this. Of course, from this data points, you can see that this is already mean centered. And there is correlation in this data. It has two dimensions, x and y. So you can see that there is a correlation in this data, x and y, in x and y data. So you can be sure that PCA can find this correlation, or PCA can use this correlation for embedding your data into smaller dimensions. So this is your eigenvalue decomposition. L comma u equal to eigenvalue decomposition sigma. Sigma is your covariance matrix. So you got it as this is your eigenvalues and this is your eigenvectors, eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Just to understand the concept of eigenvalue and eigenvectors, so print L and U gives you this is the first eigenvalue and this is the second eigenvalue, and correspondingly you have two eigenvectors. If you plot these eigenvectors, then it will look like this. If you may plot this eigenvectors. The first eigenvector is minus 0.52x plus 0.85y, etc. And eigenvector 1 is this. Eigenvector 1 is 0.85x plus. You can see that these two vectors are orthogonal to each other. If you plot the eigenvectors along with the data and using the spread of the data, you can see that the eigenvector, the two eigenvectors, the size of the eigenvectors will be dependent upon the variance in the data. So the eigenvector corresponding to this direction is going to capture most of the eigenvector corresponding to this direction will be going to use or catch most of the information. Now projecting data on the principal components. So let's say without doing any dimensionality reduction, I am going to use both the principal components, both the eigenvectors. So the projection is z equal to x dot u. So it will be using one principal component in one side and the other principal component in the other side. You can see that there is no reduction in the dimension, but it is actually rotated your data. So the data gets rotated in some fashion. That's it. There is no dimensionality reduction here. You can always do dimensionality reduction. So if you plot your data, or if you project your data to only one principal component, to the first principal component, then the data will look like this. So np dot plot x comma u and to only one component, first component. So if you plot that, you can see that your data, so it has only one dimension, and this two-dimensional data is dimensionality of the data is reduced to one dimension. Now let's look at another example which uses handwritten digits. So I use MNIST dataset here, MNIST dataset which contains all the digit 3. It's a matrix, so I read it using matrix.get, and you show that as an image. You can see that this 3 appears. This is a 28 into 28 image, so it has got some 784, 28 into 28, 784 dimension. If you open it up, if you flatten that, you can see that there will be 784 values. So now you apply PCA. So instead of using eigenvalue decomposition, you directly apply PCA with components equal to number of components equal to L. So here L is 10. So if you use only 10 components, this is how this plot is called tree plot. So if you use only first one component, then this is the amount of error that will or this is the amount of error that will be there. If you use only one component, this is the error. If you use two components, and if you increase the number of components, as you increase the number of components, the variance ratio that can be captured, that is what this plot is very important in case of PCA. So if you use another maybe more value for this, for example L is equal to 50, so then the plot will be somewhere here. So see that if you use some 10 components, then the error may be somewhat similar, so maybe 125. So at this stage you see that somewhere here around 50 it is catching with 50 number of components and with 100 components also is catching almost a similar amount of error. So that means that instead of 784 number of components or 784 dimensionality, the size can be the number of components can be reduced to this much, so that you can have a better representation or a trust representation. So this plot explains the variance ratio. So let's see the original image and the recovered image. So this was done with this was our original image, and this is the recovered image by using only 10 components. Previously I was using only 10 components. So now let's see if you run this with 120 components. Yeah, see that with if you run this with 120 components, this almost recovered almost. Instead of 784, this was with 784 components, and this is with only 125 components, and the difference between these two. So that basically explains what PCA does. PCA can be used for dimensionality reduction for if instead of storing all the 784 dimension data, you can use it, you can store only with only small amount of what you call or lower dimension data. So this was with a sample data. Here let me load all the training data, then you train with 0 values, then you can see that L is equal to x dot shape 1 PCA components. So this is your tree plot. Now if L is equal to 100, then we can see that x is equal to L, all trained data, PCA and components equal to L, then you fit with x, then you transform, then you can see that you can reconstruct your image with only 100. Now you use this with PCA using 3 dimension, perform this PCA using 3 dimension. So here I am using number of components equal to only 3. Then you use all your data, and you can see that if you plot it in a 3D fashion, you can see that This is how it will look like. All zeros are represented in blue color, ones are represented in orange. Now here you see that all orange values are together here, means that the variance of data, variance of the data with one is very small, means that you can, this is a handwritten digit, so the ways by which a one is written is, the different ways by which a one is written is not much. So almost all ones in the data set looks almost similar. That's why this grouping. But whereas maybe this is 0 or 9 blue color. So 0 and 9 are written in many different ways by different rating people, handwriting of people. So that's why this difference. In 3 dimension, if you plot it in 2 dimension, then also you can see this plot. Use only 2 dimension. Maybe this area it captures all that data once and all. Okay, so just we'll go back to right and we will see. Next, we are trying to talk about something known as how PCA can be used for face recognition. So our input is a set of images or faces, and the task is to identify a new face and a new image is a face or not. So the idea behind this paper is that you are given with a set of images, and on that image you apply PCA and find the some of the top L eigenvectors. In this case, we call it as eigenfaces. So these eigenfaces can be used for reconstructing the image, or using that eigenfaces, if you are able to reconstruct, or if you are able, whether by using the eigenfaces you can uh, identify whether the new image is a face or not. So by comparing these two. Let's go back to our yeah Python notebook. This is a sample data downloaded from Yale Faces, and it has got different images of different types: people with glasses, people with sad, sleepy, surprised, etc. Different extensions. So if you read that and if you plot your face images, it will be like this. There are people with glasses, there are people with happy, sad, all these faces, sleepy, etc. So create a training and test sample. This is for randomly choosing some as a training and some as test. And from the training sample, you find out, you need to mean center your data, isn't it? So for making it mean centered, you find a mean train phase first of all. So this is your mean phase. So for making it mean centered data, you need to subtract out the data from your mean centered data. So train x minus mean train phase. So you are mean centering your data, and this is what you get once you mean center your data. So some of the examples have been printed, image grid, and some 10 faces have been printed to show that this is mean centered. You can see that the shape of this, you can see the shape of your training sample. This is 77760. There are 100 images and each of this having this size. Now you perform PCA on this. On top of this, if you perform PCA, then you see this variance ratio you can see that the variance that is captured by number of components. So if we are using only some 20 features or 20 dimensions, then itself you can capture almost all variances in your data. So instead of this dimension, 77760, you can use a very small dimension, 20 or maybe 50. So if we use some dimension L is equal to 50, then you can see that these are the top 50 eigenvectors, something like this is some the first eigenvector you get from your data, second eigenvector. So your face maybe look like this, then this is your second eigenvector, third eigenvector. So these are the first 50 eigenvectors you are getting. Then let's say you take a test image and you try to reconstruct this from your eigen vector. So by using only your first 50 eigenvectors, sorry, by using only the first one eigenvector, you are getting this, the second eigenvector you are getting this, and so on. So if we use some 50 eigenvectors, top 10 50 eigenvectors, in this case it is called eigenfaces, then you are getting this. So instead of storing what is known as 77760 shape data or dimension, you can store your data with just 50 dimensions. So that is the advantage with PCA, and this is how you recover your original data. You have that is a die, and from that you multiply it with W, that is your eigen vector. Then you get your xi, new xi, and the average reconstruction error can be calculated. And from classical PCA theorem, you can always say that your PCA is going to give you the minimum reconstruction error. So the probabilistic PCA is something very similar. As you know from our previous discussion, what PCA does is you have this W and Zi. From that you can get Xi. Xi is equal to W comma Zi. In probabilistic PCA, you are getting a probability of that Xi. Probability of Xi given is a die is a normal distribution with this mean and this covariance. So this is, instead of saying that Xi is equal to W of Zi, we say that the probability of Xi is from a normal distribution with W Zi plus mu. And this mu is already your data is already mean centered, so you can always avoid this. So it is normal distribution, W is a die, and a covariance matrix. So if you in PCA, classical PCA, there is no probability associated with it. So this is actually your factor analysis model. And from factor analysis model, if you apply this I is equal to your sigma square I, and you say that this is mean centered, then your W is orthonormal, then you can say that it is probabilistic PCA. So instead of directly saying like probability, Xi is equal to WZI, then you say that probability of Xi is a normal distribution which is having a mean WZI and a covariance matrix, and this covariance matrix is sigma square I. So this model, for this model, you can always use expectation maximization for developing your solution instead of going for eigenvalue decomposition and using the general eigenvectors and all. So if we maximize the log likelihood of the data set X, and maximum log likelihood for W is this, and this turns out to be your first L eigenvectors of S equal to 1 by n x transpose x. So this is your diagonal matrix with first L eigenvalues. So in this case, in probabilistic PCA, this solution the solution is developed in a bit different way by using or by maximizing the log likelihood of the data set, or by using the expectation maximization method. But the idea is same, and you are going to get a probabilistic a probability solution to xi instead of instead of saying that xi is equal to wci, we say that probability of xi given zi is coming from a normal distribution, w is zi. So probabilistic PCA formulation allows EM based learning of parameters. So the parameters here are w, psi, and w and psi. So this can be learned from EM. The Z is a matrix that containing n latent random variables. So by using w, z, and this is psi, you can construct x back. The idea or the benefit of using EM instead of using our previous method, like using eigenvalue and eigenvector decomposition, is that EM can be faster and this can be implemented in an online fashion. Means that as data comes in, you can control your EM in such a way that the solution is getting altered. EM can also handle missing data, so that's another benefit of using EM. So that's about principal component analysis and probabilistic principal component analysis. Thank you.